Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Hungry People Podcast, the hungriest podcast in America. It is your boy, Michael Patrick Buckley, and here with my stunning co-host, AJ Diveka. AJ, what's cracking, my man?
Nothing much, MB. How you doing today?
Dude, I'm chilling, bro.
Good to
chilling
be
like a
here.
villain. I think it's supposed to be a pretty nice day here in Pittsburgh. So just excited for our conversation usual.
What's nice about it?
What's nice about Pittsburgh or the day?
Yeah, is it like nice weather?
Oh, yeah. It's supposed to be, I think, like 65 today. So
Damn, nice. You
yeah,
gonna be doing anything outdoors?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna hit the gym, get a little workout in. My bike.
The gym's indoors. I said, are you gonna do anything outdoors?
Maybe I'll walk outside and I'll go for a walk later.
Okay.
Good point. Good point.
I was there. We do a long walk.
Yeah.
Talk about our hopes and dreams.
Yeah, I have a bike. Obviously,
Nice.
but
I do too.
I have a flat tire, so I haven't fixed it yet.
Undercarved.
No, I'm carved up. But yeah, but hey,
you watching MP just ate oranges for like 30 minutes.
30 minutes, maybe like 17 minutes. Yeah, no, I just had some oranges and dates. Pretty good.
Were they sweet oranges?
Yeah, they're all right. They're actually pretty juicy. They're pretty juicy. I just wanted the dates for some extra calories, and they actually went pretty well together. Oranges and dates.
Huh.
Felt pretty good. Yeah.
Calories are a myth.
Maybe they are. Maybe they're not. But hey, you just got to Tennessee, didn't you?
I did. I just
Awesome.
arrived in Chattanooga on Saturday.
Nice, dude.
It is beautiful. I love it. I really love it.
So, do you plan on being in there for a while?
Yeah. I plan on moving here. It's been the plan. It's been in the works for a while, but things just happen to line up recently. So it's like, man, we'll make it happen. Let's make it happen.
Right.
Sure. And I've gone to a couple different places like Hawaii and Florida and stuff, and they all had their like benefits and things I liked, but Chattanooga seems to really bring it all together.
Mm-hmm.
People my age, tons of healthy restaurants and vegan options. A lot of fitness. There's a track right next to where I live, like literally right across the street. That's why you guys will see it on Instagram. I'll go there every morning. If you're on Instagram, you saw that we did a bunch of mountain biking, which is cool, and just looking to like experience some new stuff. Air's quality's better. I love it.
Yeah, it seems like great. Seems like Tennessee has a great mix of it all. You have
it
the
really
you
does.
You have the nature.
And it has the. Sorry.
Go
ahead.
No,
it just has a blend of the city and
right.
But it's not congested, and then it has so much nature.
Yeah.
Single mountains right here. These unbelievable views, so waterfalls, all within like 10 minutes.
Dude, that's awesome. Maybe I'll move down there at some point.
Thanks for asking, MP.
Yeah, no problem. My buddy, he actually plays in the minor leagues for the Cubs, and he's out of Knoxville, Tennessee.
That's only like an hour and a half from me.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. Oh, I'm gonna visit him in June. Obviously, you're not gonna be there, but
good timing.
It'd be sweet if we all met up. Maybe I'll go see Cody if it works out.
How long are you gonna be?
I think it's gonna be a couple of days. I don't know. I might stay till that next Wednesday though. We'll see. It's like in the works, so I haven't planned it out yet because I think I'm gonna drive, but my other buddies might fly. So.
Well, if you drive, then just stay like an extra day or two.
Yeah, right.
And you could stay with us.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive into today's topic.
Yeah. AJ,
does sugar make you fat? MP, without a description, what do you say? Yes or no? Does it make you fat? Yes or no? And it can't be depends. It can't be like, what do you just initially think? It either does or it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. my answer straight up is no. My answer straight up is no. What's your answer?
Does it make you fat? Oh, man, I just don't give a shit if it makes you fat or not. It's such a stupid question. I don't know. Even though I asked it.
Yeah, maybe it is a stupid question, but
I
it's
think
it's pretty
because I
reason.
think it can. I know I wanted a yes or no out of you, but I can't give a yes or no.
That's the thing. It's so hard to just give a yes or no answer for any of these kind of questions.
Right.
So
Where do we start?
where do we start? Well, do you want to start from like a calorie? Like, do you think we should start from like a calorie standpoint? Or no? Or do you think
We
it's more of
can.
like what you're eating?
Sure. Well, let's define sugar. Are we talking about refined sugar? Are we talking about all carbs, or starches, fruits?
Yeah. Well,
What do you think?
I think the overriding notion or statement of sugar, I'm sure a lot of people would think it is just your refined sugar that you find in cakes and cookies and brownies and stuff.
Mhm.
But when I say sugar, when I think of sugar, I think of everything. I think of the starch, the apples, the bananas, all fruits, even vegetables. They turn into sugar. But if I'm not mistaken, doesn't everything turn into sugar like in our body?
Possibly.
Well, no, I know it.
Where do we break down the fat and the sugar? Like, is that what you mean? Like for
No,
food?
well, like I know, when you go through gluconeogenesis, it's like you eat no carbohydrate or you like only eat protein and fat,
Mhm.
and I think that turns it into sugar at least. But
Right. Yeah. Like it's the body's main fuel source. It's preferred fuel source.
mhm.
That's the thing. Like people will say, avoid sugar if you have cancer. And it's because the sugar will feed the cancer. But then it's like, well, every cell runs on sugar, including, the brain. Like you need it to make ATP, all this kind of stuff. So again, I think there's a lot of like in-depth analysis that could be done there where it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, if you have cancer and you're adding like sugar to your cornflakes, I don't know if that's like the best option, right? But if you eat an apple, is that really feeding your cancer? Now, what's interesting is Brian Clement would say yes. He would say any sugar, including fruit sugar. He actually says fruit sugars that feeds cancer the most.
yep.
Go ahead.
Okay, keep going. Keep going.
So he takes that stance, whereas like most people in raw veganism would probably disagree with that. Or
Well,
veganism, whatever.
I mean, how do we really know unless we actually get tested to see? Like, have there been tests done that shows that like the sugar in fruit feeds cancer?
I mean, they always talk about studies. I haven't like read any of the studies, but he says that a lot of his stuff was first brought to him because when he was having patients come in to his Hippocrates Health Institute, he would give them a certain amount of fruit and he would watch tumors grow and stuff. And he said when he would start to pull it back, he said they wouldn't start to shrink. So, if you ask like the detoxers, like Robert Morse and things, they would say, of course, at first it's going to be exaggerated because all of a sudden you're freeing up your body's energy. And you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
all of a sudden because fruit's like the cleanest food, the purest food. So if you start eating it, all of a sudden your body almost goes into overdrive and maybe it'll grow a little at first.
Right.
But Brian Clements is like, hey, we should be seeing progress like right away. We shouldn't be like this ebb and flow. Maybe you have a headache because you get off caffeine when you come here or something, but you should be getting better because there's more oxygen in your body. You're getting more minerals, you're getting more enzymes.
Right.
So it becomes a little trickier.
No, totally. But even still, like if you eat greens, there's still technically sugar in greens because it has some carbohydrate. So like that's still technically sugar. Like it's I mean, it's a different kind of sugar that the greens have.
Funny.
But
It's funny because Brian Clement says his diet's a high carb diet, but it's low carb compared to like eating 5 bowls of rice.
So he considers
you're right. It is a carb diet.
So he actually considers himself eating a high carb diet. I don't really.
Well, he eats sweet potatoes and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So when you think of sugar, what do you think? What do you think of? Like, do you think of like refined sugar, or do you think of maple syrup or honey, or?
When I think of carbs, I think that then I include things like starches in. But when I think of sugar, I think of more of like the fruits, refined sugar, the maple syrup, agave, all of honey, all that kind of stuff. I feel like that I consider more sugar, not because they aren't carbohydrates, but just because I do feel like I have a completely different response in the body where that sugar is just like so rapidly absorbed,
Right.
and you can feel the energy from it or whatever a lot quicker. So I feel as though it's more of like this pure like pure octane fuel that goes right into your system, where starch is like, you have to break that down. It takes
Yeah,
time.
it's slower.
So when I think of sugar, I don't think of them together. But as of recently, I just think more and more refined sugar when I hear it. Because I'll just say fruit. I won't say sugar unless I'm
Right.
making like a point of like, look at all the sugar in this
Right.
shitty smoothie.
Well, I think too. I think even when people think of the word carbohydrate or carbs, they'll think of like pizza, or they'll think of potato chips or French fries. Which,
Right.
like, yes, you would say that they are more carb dominant, but at the same time, there's also a lot of fat in that. Like you're frying potatoes in oil, and you're putting cheese and pepperoni on top of a pizza.
Sure.
So it's like, yeah, yes, it is a carb dominant food, but there's also a lot of fat. And that's like, there's a correlation there. So,
And I feel like the people in the raw vegan community kind of, they do know that, where they understand like a cake isn't just carbs. But
right.
even yesterday, I was out to eat with some friends, and my one friend got he got like an organic muffin, and he's like, man, this is straight carbs. He's like a fully grown man. He's like worried about calories from a muffin. And it's just funny because even though he does know about a decent amount about health and stuff, he's still caught up in that train for sure. So
Yeah, right.
even though it might seem repetitive here, because most of our listeners kind of like get it, that potato chips, yeah, they're carbs, but they're fucking fat and salt mostly, or more.
So
at the same time, most of the population doesn't even realize that. They think because the potato chip is carbs. It's like,
right.
What the fuck?
Right. So I think there's this notion that people would say that yes, sugar does make you fat, but when they think of sugar, once again, like I said earlier, they'll think of like brownies and cookies and cakes and
ice cream, right?
And ice cream and all that kind of stuff. Which, if you're eating that kind of stuff in excess, and you're not moving your body or doing anything, and you're not counting your calories, I think we can say yes, that sugar. Well, it's almost like, is it the sugar though? That's the thing, I was gonna say sugar makes you fat, but like it's also, they're not just like eating fruit. Like if they took out the cakes and cookies in their diet and replaced it with fruits and vegetables, then come back and tell me if sugar makes you fat. So,
right. Well, then it opens up the discussion to where is it calories in, calories out?
right.
Because like, yeah, you're eating carbs from fruit and vegetable, but there's so little calories.
Right. So it's funny. Age and I were just talking about a video that I watched right before this. It was a girl critiquing Freely's 50 bananas a day diet, or like what she was doing. And I think it's incredible that like Freely has stayed that lean her entire life almost. And just look at her. She's super lean and she does eat a lot of calories.
It's thanks to daddy.
She eats a lot of sugar. She eats a ton of sugar. Now,
I think she eats too much sugar.
I would agree. And it just seems like it's just this like stuffing, like just getting in so much sugar, which I'm for getting enough calories in. I don't want to eat little calories, and even for myself, I've noticed plenty of benefits of getting enough calories in and even a little more. But I feel like they just want to prove that you can eat all this sugar and not get fat. That's what I feel like those videos are for. So she'll blend up like 30, 40 bananas, not at a time, but like over the course of the day, and she'll eat all that. And she'll even eat more, and she'll stay super lean. And I do believe that there is something with that, where if you do eat like very minimal fat or any fat at all, I think you can, what's the word I'm looking for? Finesse. You can like maneuver you can biohack your body away. Whatever. You can like, you can obtain results that you would want to, I was gonna say want to achieve, but yeah, like they're obviously doing something right by not eating a lot of fat when eating all the sugar. So like
Right. If your
they
goal is to
know,
be super skinny,
you know. So I just think there's something to that, to where only doing like straight sugar and no fat at all, you may get those results. But I feel like there's people who that doesn't work for them. Like I don't know if it's like a detoxification thing, if they haven't like cleaned out enough to absorb and get all the nutrition in, because I feel like we're still seeing people out there, and I've even messaged people who said that. I mean, I've been high carb, like no fat at all, and I'm gaining weight, you know? So it does make you think, like, is it a calorie issue? Is it a calorie thing? But I mean, that they've shown that you would at least assume, based off their videos and what they're posting, that they eat unlimited carbohydrate, as much as their body needs, and they're like not getting fat. So
yeah. So like, there's tons of people now. I know Harley will kind of write off a lot of these people, saying that, oh, they're doing things behind the scenes, they're not following the protocol, they didn't bike, and he's not wrong about that. You know, I was a good example. When I ate raw till 4, I never fucking biked. I felt good, but I was just always so full. So, you know, these people, are they going to bed early and stuff? I feel as though, especially fruit-based diet, but raw till 4 as well, sugar-based diet, your weakest link can hold you back so much. So if you're eating all that sugar and you don't rest well, I feel like it's just it's similar to combining all the fat and sugar together and just having this dynamite effect, where you're getting the negatives of both worlds. And then each side is like, it's because of the fat, it's because of the sugar, and it's like a fight back and forth.
Right.
Now I do feel as though there's tons of people who really believed it would work. So they had the, you know, mental positivity of like talking themselves that it will work, and they're trying really hard, and they're trying to eat enough calories. You know, they're forcing themselves to eat until where they're, you know, maxed out.
Right.
And they're eating fruit all day, and they're fucking eating starch at night, and they just feel like shit, and they look like shit.
Right.
And they hate it. They don't enjoy it. They're not getting any results.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the swing back and forth of, you know, whether they switch up their diet again or they go back to meat. And here's the thing. I would say Harley has probably got more people to stay vegan than anyone else that I've seen, which is impressive. Like, he actually gave guidelines that helped a lot of people. But at the same, you know, no matter what, when you're helping that many people or educating, there's always going to be such a huge blowback as well. Yeah. And I would say that, like, you know, it feels as though like raw till 4 is kind of dead in a way.
Or it's at least dying off.
I mean, compared to when I was into it, it was at its peak. It was like 2014, and it was so big. And now it's almost like a joke. But I'm not saying it is a joke. I'm just saying, as far as the community goes, it doesn't seem like anyone takes it serious anymore. Right. And the whole, I don't really know where I come down on the calories in, calories out thing, but I don't think, because I'm all about just meeting your body's needs. Mm-hmm. So it's a little trickier, but that's the thing. Like, I have a hard time believing if you add 200 extra calories of like white sugar or 2 bananas a day, that you're actually going to get fat if you're going over your calorie limit. I mean, it's fucking, we go to the Woodstock Fruit Festival, and the people who eat just fruit, they're just so skinny. You know, they could probably eat like, you know, 1,500 bananas and they'll still be fucking so skinny because they don't believe in protein or whatever.
Right.
But so I don't see that as a calorie issue.
Well, right. So do you think there is something with like doing like only sugar? And by saying only sugar, I'm meaning like only fruit, only vegetables, only rice, only pasta, only potatoes, like really high carb. Because once again, I'll go on Twitter. Well, I say once again because I talk about Twitter a lot. And there's this doctor on there. He's a keto doctor. He'll claim that he eats as much protein and fat as he wants, and he's like losing weight. Whereas still he has to intermittent fast every single day. Like I'm not sure if he does like 16-8 or 24 or 18-6. I'm not sure what he does, but all I know is that he intermittent fast every day and basically doesn't eat carbohydrate. And I just know for myself, when I was intermittent fasting, I could pretty much eat whatever in that time period, and like I wasn't gaining weight or anything. But I feel like it's just, is there something to the doing the keto only and doing the sugar only, the fat only, the sugar only? Like, is it like, do you think there's something to that?
You mean like a biohack?
Yeah, like
Like you can get away with more.
right. I mean, because we know that, I mean, obviously there's certain mechanisms and functions that our body goes through, and it's almost like we're kind of bypassing some of that stuff. Well, so I understand too the whole insulin stuff too, where what does Harley say? He's like, if you want to gain weight, eat more protein and fat because that's anabolic, whereas like sugar and carbohydrates are catabolic, they're breaking down. But I feel like everyone's like, oh well, if you want to gain weight, then like get your own, like pump your insulin up. So let's say you eat more carbohydrates, but isn't like insulin sensitivity have a lot to do with it too? So like mastering diabetes and even Harley, they'll say that like eating fruit and carbohydrates will make you more insulin sensitive, so you lose weight. Whereas like if you're insulin resistant, then you're putting on weight. So I feel like the insulin resistance comes from doing a lot of the fat and the sugar together, And then even with the episode with Colin, he mentioned that protein's insulingenic, which I guess like has like a blunt effect on insulin, maybe, or it's not sure. But so we have like both sides of it, to where the keto people are saying that they're insulin sensitive, and then we have the carb people saying that they're insulin sensitive. But then the carb people would say, oh no, like the keto people are actually insulin resistant, but they just don't know it because they're not eating any sugar or carbs.
Right.
So I feel like they both kind of have their like, once again, I guess you could say biohack in the body, to where like they're both creating some sorts of insulin sensitivity, even if the keto isn't. They would definitely claim it's that you're being insulin sensitive by doing fat and protein only. But is that true? I mean, you can, I guess you'd have to get a keto podcast and listen to what they had to say. But obviously, yeah, I mean, AJ and I are more biased towards like sugar makes you more insulin sensitive, whereas fat makes you insulin resistant. So, yeah.
Essentially the fat making it a little harder to digest your carbohydrates properly.
Right.
I think that you nailed it with the combination is, in my opinion, the dynamite. Now, what I mean by that is if you up your sugar and you just start eating a lot of fruit, or you start eating a lot of rice, or you start pouring sugar on things, I don't see that necessarily translating into fat. But I do think that if you're eating even a moderately amount of fat, let's say you still eat cheeseburgers, or eat steak, or you eat a lot of oil, whatever, not avocado. No one's getting fat on avocado. Stop. It's fucking stupid. So
or hemp seeds.
yeah. I got fat because of hemp seeds. Because of my chia seed pudding. The extra 150 calories. No, but the combination, if all of a sudden you are eating a good amount of fat and you're adding tons of sugar, tons of carbohydrate, I do think that combination, the fact that you're heightening your insulin both by eating beef, which raises insulin just like carbohydrate, it might not show in blood sugar. If you test your blood sugar, it doesn't go up, but your insulin goes up.
Right.
And then you also are combining that with high sugary foods, which if that sugar is not getting into the cell, now all of a sudden it's staying elevated, which is releasing more insulin, which causes you to gain weight. Right. So the combination is really the thing. And that's where the biohack comes from, if you're limiting them, if you're on one side or the other. But I think in the middle, as I'm getting older and wiser, fucking getting older.
You are getting wiser.
So the thing is, as much as I hate to admit it, in Vegetable Police, I think you need to hear this message more than anybody. Like, it seems as though balance is the fucking key. and not like stuffing your face with just one side or the other, but just eating a reasonable amount of food, getting enough. But I still don't think you should be stuffing yourself sick unless you are running an ultra marathon or something,
or you're like a biker.
You need the calories, like that's fuel. But I'm saying if you're talking about your regular metabolic functions, like eating a reasonable amount, I would say between 2,000 and 3,000 is pretty reasonable. Somewhere along those lines. But then also making sure you actually eat vegetables, eating fat. These things. The thing is, though, if you're like, I'm going to eat 4,000 calories of carbs and you're going to eat like steak, it's like, man, that's not going to be too good.
Yeah, it's a lot. What's also too
I
is
mean,
like,
yeah.
it's you see these bodybuilders out there, you see these power lifters. I mean, you see like they're eating heavy protein, heavy fat, and heavy carbs. They're doing all of it.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm sure like
They're doing the white rice and the chicken.
yeah, like you don't you don't see a super lean and skinny powerlifter that's only eating fruit.
Right.
So it'd be funny if you did.
Well, here's the thing. You know, so someone will probably point out like Mike Velocity. I think that's his name. He's like the fruitarian guy who's like a strongman or something, or he lifts a lot of weights or whatever.
I'm not sure.
But I do think there's people who could obtain more strength depending upon if they had like a specific diet. But I do think generally it's not going to work. So, for example, let's say someone, you know, feels terrible all the time. They feel sick and they have no energy. So even though they're eating, you know, lots of fat and lots of carbs, but all of a sudden they eat like a fruit-based diet and their health improves. Now they can train properly. Yeah. So they're reaching more of their natural peak than they would otherwise. But put most people on a fruit diet, I mean, you know, they're going to get really weak.
Right. Totally.
I mean, you just see it all the time. I mean, we're on Instagram and either we talk to a lot of people or we see a lot of people posting about this stuff. And it's like, it seems as though the longer people go on fruit, the more they talk about, man, I like was tricked into it. And it's like, well, no, but the thing is, like, if they could look at it through a healthy lens and see that, hey, maybe you just need some additional stuff with the fruit.
Yeah.
They could probably avoid a lot of the BS that they go through. I mean, I've been there. You know?
Yeah. Well, I think you'll see that as you'll see people who'll do like only juice for so long, or they'll do fruit for 6 years. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, I'm an idiot. You know, I started eating whatever they were eating, you know, fish. They ate a steak, they ate this, and they felt amazing. Well, it's like, yeah, you weren't getting everything you needed by only eating fruit.
Yeah, so you're hungry.
Right. Now, AJ, let's come back to the original question here. Does sugar make you fat? So I think we know that there's a lot of criteria that goes into it. You know, your sleep, are you absorbing the sugars well enough? Because maybe if you do absorb them well enough, maybe you won't put on weight, if that's a thing.
Yeah, maybe you don't have to just endlessly eat.
Right. Are you moving your body? I think moving your body does play a big role in that.
Super big.
Yeah, because I just think that people, I do feel like that they're so worried about calories though, and they're like, oh, I walked the treadmill, I burned 500 calories. Whereas like we see the people who are walking on the treadmill are like the most overweight people most of the time, you know. At least from my perspective. Like, I mean, it's true though. Go to a gym and look who's on the treadmill, and you'll just see for yourself. It's not like it's not that hard to realize. But I definitely think movement is key, and movement does make you more insulin sensitive. And there's a lot of research out there that show that.
See, I don't enjoy fruit meals, but like even yesterday when I was out cycling, we were out for like 3 hours. I was like, a watermelon sounds so unbelievably amazing right now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, some good fruit or some good berries or whatever. And I was like, that's the thing. Without context, I can't really tell you what I want, because it's so, like, if you told me right now you can have a watermelon, like, fuck that. I don't want a watermelon. Like, I'd rather have, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Like green, like even like a green juice, I'd rather have that. But like the thing is, like, all of a sudden, like fruit is such a good fuel. And it can be so great with minerals and vitamins and hydrating and electrolytes. And like, but the sugar thing, I don't feel as though, especially with fruit, you know, weight gain just seems impossible. Not only is it like not fattening, it's like impossible to fucking get fat on fruit. I can't do it.
You're only doing fruit, you mean?
I mean, just like fruit, like when I'm eating so much fruit, I just,
right.
That's never what gives me more weight.
Right.
Ever.
Right. Yeah, me neither. Yeah, like if I'm trying to gain weight, like if I'm trying to gain weight, I'm not gonna eat. I'll eat less fruit, or maybe I'll add fat to my fruits, like add nut butters or something like that. But
I do think there's something. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, if I wanted to lose weight, I mean, I'd probably go like super high carb, but like But I feel like losing weight is so tough. Like, not so tough, but it's just like it's just it's just iffy for me because I do feel like if you want to lose weight, you're just not getting enough nutrition in you. And there's like boundaries with it all, you know. But
I think it's super valid for people to entertain certain ideas, such as like if you've been eating high carb and you don't see that many results or whatever, and you're going back to like more normal-ish type
right.
of eating, like maybe you got to eat a little bit, and you're not eating rice for dinner every day with pasta sauce or something. That entertaining the idea of getting the almond milk without sugar, getting like, I feel as though limiting those like limiting soda, like these things work. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think the absence of all sugar is a good thing, but I think there's something to be said about refined sugars being added to your food, whereas like you could just eat more food, especially if you're someone who has a big appetite.
Yeah, right.
That obviously changes if all of a sudden you can't get enough food. Like I know people who just are never hungry and they know they need to eat more, but
Yeah.
they're not hungry. So that's tricky. And that's where, maybe some of the more refined foods can be good, but
Well, that could be a thing too, AJ, just to interrupt you here. Whereas like if you do take a Harley approach to where you do like a ton of rice and you add sugar to that, what if like you were able to eat like less volume of food, but then adding the sugar adds more calories, so then you get in more calories, so it's not as much volume as food,
right.
you know? But it's not like it's like good calories. I mean, I don't want to say it's bad calories. It's just like energy calories. That's kind of how I see it.
Right.
But it's I feel like if you do stuff like that, where you do add in so much sugar, especially the refined sugar, I mean, how much, I just like the fat plays a role there, like you don't see Harley doing a ton of sugar than eating a ton of fat too, and he would even say like, don't do that. Like, don't eat fat. But that's why I'd rather just not do that and eat some fat.
Yeah. And I only have a limited experience with adding the refined sugar. I would say I have a decent amount of experience where I would like add. So back in the Raw Till 4 days, I would add refined sugar, like white processed organic sugar, to the smoothie. Now, normally I feel amazing from this banana smoothie. I put like 15 bananas in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, Harley's like hyping it up and he's the guy that fucking told me about it. So I pour it on, and I didn't think it tasted as good.
Yeah.
I was like, this doesn't taste as good. And then it throws off the sugar to water ratio. So I'm trying to like play with it, like add a little bit of water. Now it's too watery.
Right.
And I also just didn't feel as good. So I think that that's a great indicator to that. Why add it?
Yeah.
But then there's people who add it and they feel fucking like it's rocket fuel.
Yeah.
And they train harder. Me, I didn't. I would train less when I did it.
It's funny because I've even had people recently message me like, dude, I've been adding refined sugar and it feels like amazing. I have so much more energy. I'm like, hey, cool. And honestly, I kind of feel the same way too. Like, I do feel like my energy does get top notch, but I do feel like I'm hungrier though. Like, it makes me hungrier for some reason, and I want to eat more.
I feel more restless, and I don't need more of that.
Yeah.
Like Harley says, it calms people down. I think that eating a meal will calm down, but I don't know.
Right.
Whenever I add the refined sugar, I feel as though when you're adding refined sugar, you can get away with it more if you eat a normal diet. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel as though if you're already eating like such a high carb diet too, like what I mean by that, MP, is like you'll have friends who eat like, they'll eat meats and things, but they'll eat carbohydrates too, and they'll eat like the ice creams that are more natural for like the glucose and stuff.
Right.
And I feel like that's like, you're probably going to see less teeth issues if you actually eat more of like a variety diet and add the sugar instead of like, I eat mostly bananas and rice and add sugar. I feel like you're just going to fall apart.
Right. Yeah. Well, I've seen recently with the tea stuff that vitamin K2 is a big one for that.
Right.
Good teeth health. I wonder, is there something with I know natto. I think that's the only plant source of vitamin K2 is natto. I wonder if there's like
apparently like all K2 supplements, or most of them, are made out of natto.
Oh, really?
Which is like fermented soybeans.
Yeah. Maybe I'll try to do something like that. Get that in there. Even though my teeth are great right now, so. But
you definitely have to do an episode on teeth.
Yeah, 100%.
That's one we could go really deep into. There's so much to talk about with that.
Yeah. So AJ, your consensus here on does sugar make you fat?
I don't think that it translates that simply. I think there's people who definitely weight wise are so much better off limiting added sugar. I don't think that fruit is a problem.
Yeah.
I don't think rice. I definitely don't think rice is a problem or potatoes. But I think if you're one of these people who are making yourself eat fucking 10 potatoes as a meal, I think that that's probably not going to help your weight unless you're, you feel great and you're fueled up. I think generally,
Right.
no, it's not going to cause you to gain weight, but I do think there's a time and a place to limit excess amounts. Like I said, with the almond milks, just little things where you could like touch up your diet and just feel
Right.
overall better, especially if you have sugar metabolism type issues.
Mhm.
A lot of people who are all high carb would say, well, no, you got to fix the root of the problem. But it's like some people need a transition period of actually feeling better to have the mental and physical capability to make
Mhm.
the progressive change. Like if you're like, hey, just wait. It's just like the detox mentality where it's like, hey, they apply it to the high carb diet too. It's like, just wait. All right, I'm waiting 9 months. Why am I not feeling any better? So it's
Right.
like you have to take it to your own with your own self. There's gonna be so many people who limited carbohydrates their whole life. They start adding them in. They're like, wow, finally.
Yeah.
So we
Right.
have it on both sides. Overall, I don't think it makes you fat. I think it can keep people from losing weight.
Yeah.
Dr. John McDougall, he says that his overweight patients, he will limit their fruit, not because it's fattening, but because he doesn't want their metabolism and insulin being released throughout the whole day and just adding extra calories where they're not going to feel that satisfied. They're going to feel more ravenous. So
Mhm.
he'd rather them eat vegetables and starches so they can get satisfied but eat a reasonable amount of food. So again, you have to take it in the complete context, which is what we do here. We like to give you the full view of what's going on. I think that doesn't make you fat. Doesn't really matter to me. I think feeling great, looking great, and being able to live your life in an awesome way is way more important. If that's with sugar, that's awesome. If that's limiting some sugar, that's great too.
Nice.
MP.
Yeah. Great answer there, AJ. Yeah. I think overall, I don't think it's right to just say that sugar makes you fat. Um, and as you stated, and as we know, that there's a lot of factors that go into it. And I think you really got to take a look at the types of sugar that you're eating. Is it your typical processed food sugar, where there's also chemicals, preservatives, oils, and other fats, dairy products, versus eating your fruits, your rice, your potatoes, your beans, your legumes, and stuff. So there's definitely a big difference to that. Once again, people will blame sugar for their fatness because they're eating cakes and cookies and stuff.
Yeah.
um, and you just can't do that. And I think right there will be a point to where people be like, oh, we're eating too many calories. So, but yeah, I think just overall, I personally don't think sugar does make you fat. And even Lyle, what's his he has a speech on YouTube, losing weight without
Without
losing your
losing your
mind.
mind.
Yeah, it's a great speech. It's a great video to watch. And I think his whole idea, and even like, 'cause it's kind of more McDougal's, is just like eating more whole foods. And I guess they would say that naturally you would lose weight over time. But I still feel like maybe you are eating less calories by doing that, so you're losing weight. So
Yeah, great point. And I think it goes back to the episode we just did on oil, where we said when people limit oil, they're also limiting all this other junk, right? So if you
yeah.
start limiting sugar and you're seeing so much benefit, I mean, there's a great chance that you're limiting tons of preservatives, tons of oils, and like other
Mhm.
things as well, which is also why you're feeling, limiting junk
Yeah.
essentially. And that's
Right.
going to have a huge difference on your health
Right.
as long as you're eating enough food.
Right. And what I was talking about earlier too, with like adding the refined sugar or just doing like so much sugar and looking like super lean and whatnot. I feel like you look at bikers, and I feel like if you want to be the best biker, you want to be like as skinny as possible, but like have
Right.
super strong legs. So like you're super light, but you're super strong. And But if you do that, now there's pros and cons, there's benefits and consequences of doing of everything, So um some people, they would, you might say, oh, they look, malnourished. I know there's a guy, I think it is Plant Chompers. I think that's who it is on YouTube. Great guy to look at. Great YouTube channel. Other than hungry people. And he was saying that when he was like in his running shape, he was like super light and pretty skinny, and people like said, hey, you look like malnourished because of like how skinny he was. But that's just like, that was like his running shape. Like that's what he had to do to get to certain results. So it's like, if you do want to lose weight, like maybe you don't, like you might not look as healthy, technically speaking,
right?
So because maybe you are missing vital nutrients.
And definitely there's some people who just look better with more weight, and there's some people who look better with less.
Right.
I remember Mike Arnstein, if I go back now and watch his videos from like 8 years ago, 10 years ago, I'm like, damn, he was so skinny. But back then when I watched it, I'm like, well, look, he's so fit because he's running, right? So
right.
It's
cool it's interesting to compare.
And I remember a friend of ours was talking about Tim, what's the guy, running raw guy?
Van Norton.
Tim Van Norton, like he's really skinny, but he goes up the mountain like a bird because he's so light.
Yeah, right.
And it definitely translates. The lighter you are, the faster you can move. So it becomes tricky on how to feel yourself enough without being overweight.
Right. Totally. Cool.
MP, well, this was great.
Yeah, this is awesome. I think we did a pretty solid job there answering the question of whether does sugar make you fat.
Yeah.
I feel like we can just keep talking about it.
Yeah, it's gonna come up in other ways. Like,
yeah, it definitely will.
Is sugar healthy? I'm sure we could do one like that.
Yeah. Actually, we should. We definitely should. Anything on the agenda for the day?
It's all secret. It's all surprises and secrets. I can't talk about it. People watch my channel, but they can't know what I'm gonna do.
Nice. AJ and I, we've been fighting recently.
I'm like, we have.
No, I'm just kidding. Well, actually, I want to get your thoughts on this, people. No, I'm kidding. I'm not gonna bring it up.
Oh yeah, they're gonna agree with you probably.
What?
They're gonna agree with you. Probably.
Yeah, they are, and they probably will.
Even though no one does it like you do.
No, dude. Yesterday, I was gonna send you a screenshot of my buddy. He said thank you to me. So every time someone says thank you to me, I'm gonna send a screenshot to you.
Okay. Have I not been doing that recently?
No. You've been doing a great job, AJ. You've been really satisfying.
I've been manipulated.
One more statement that I want to make here was that I personally feel like if you do have sugar cravings in the evening, you haven't eaten enough sugar. Simple as that.
And I'll say that if you have sugar cravings in the evening, you haven't had enough minerals. And you've had too much sugar.
Fair enough.
Look, we contradicted ourselves.
Well, I guess I'll have to do another episode. Awesome, guys. Cool. Well, that's all we have here for you guys here today. It's your boy, Michael Patrick, 2 first names. I like to call myself a superhuman because that's what I am, baby. Stay up, be great. Always keep it 100, baby.
Stay starving on sugar.
Stay hungry.